Greetings and welcome to another video in the Voice Attacking News series. In this episode, we're going to look at loops. So loops are quite cool because it lets you repeat an action or actions multiple times until the loop conditions are met. Let's make a new command. There's three types of loop. Single condition while loop. So if something equals true, keep on doing the loop until equals false and then it'll put out. We can do the compound condition builder, so we can have more than one thing. So if something is equal to this and something is equal to that, do the loop. And we've got repeat a certain number of times. We can set it to a loop 6 times, 10 times, whatever. And then you've got one which is an indefinite loop, which you might need it, maybe, on the odd occasion, but normally the other two will suffice for most needs. Let's say you've got a game where you have to pick up items off the ground by pressing a key. You have to keep pressing the key to pick things up. Start collecting. What we can do is loop starts. We want a single condition. Now what we want to do is we'll do it this way. So while mouse button right is not pressed, do the loop. When we say start collecting, it will go, okay, so is the right mouse button pressed? Nope. We'll do the loop then. In the loop, we're going to press a key. So in this case, E, to pick things up off the ground in our hypothetical game. We're going to do a small pause, a very specific pause of 1/10 of a second. And that's it. So now what will happen is, it will start pressing E when we give the command, and it'll only stop when we do right mouse button. So that's that. Done. Open up Notepad++. Turn on listening. Start collecting. Let's press an E. Right mouse button, and it's done. Nice and simple. In this hypothetical game, if you want to craft something, you can do another loop to make it easier. So if you want to craft X number of something, you can do craft 1 to 20 item or items. So you can say craft 1 item or craft 6 items. You could just leave items in there, but saying craft 1 items is a bit off to me, so that's why I put that in there. What we need to do is change the loop. So we're going to get rid of that. We need to do X number of times. So we can go back down to the loop and go repeat a certain number of times. Now we should be able to do it this way. We're basically saying loop number of times, command segment 1. So whatever number's in there, we want it to loop. So we OK that. And in this case, we want it to, let's say, press a mouse click. So we can do that. And want it to click left mouse button. And we won't know it's necessarily working, so we're going to put a little right to the log, clicking mouse. We want to put a small pause at the end of it. When you're doing it this way, like, you want to put the pause in long enough so that the item you're crafting in the game is finished and you're then ready to craft another one. So in this case, we're going to say, let's say, pause for half a second. Yeah, you have to adjust as necessary for the game you're playing. Okay, that. Done. Craft 3 items. And it crafted 3 items. Craft 7 items. So it does the mouse clicks for you, extending the life of your mouse. Same thing would work with the key as well. So yeah, it's quite handy. Normally when you do a loop, you always want to put a pause at the end of it. Every time it's cycling around, it pauses a little bit, then carries on. In some cases you might not need it, but more often you need at least a small pause in there just to let the loop function properly. So there's some other things you can do with the loop. There's another game I play where you terraform a planet and you have to craft items like a rocket engine, which requires certain materials like iron or sulfur or whatever. Now, especially if I'm streaming, I've got to remember like a sieve sometimes because I'm doing so many things, I forget stuff. So I look at a recipe and it says, I need this, this, and this. And I'll go, okay, and then 3 seconds later I've forgotten it. It's gone. I thought, can I make a reminder list? So this is the command. I've called it, oddly enough, remember this. So we set an item count variable there to 0, and then we get the TTS to say, what would you like to remember? And then we do a loop. So while the item count is less than 6, because there's only up to 6 materials in an item, it'll write to the log, speak now, and then wait for the spoken response command, which is something we haven't looked at yet. This waits for an input from you, the user. In this case, speech. It's waiting for me to say 1 to 10. And it then places it into a variable. I'll get into it in a second. And then whatever I say, it will continue. So even if I say Scotch eggs, or bacon, or whatever, it will continue. Pauses for a tenth of a second, and then it compares to see if the variable contains the word invalid. Now, the way I've done that is say it only takes 3 materials to make something. I say those, and I say finished, which is not on the list, and it will then end the command. I could say anything at this point, it doesn't matter. But I could say finished, and it just puts invalid in there. It's not a valid response. Breaks the command. That's what the loop break does here. If that variable equals invalid, break the loop, drops out, and it says finished. If I carry on, if I say a number, it will then prompt me to speak. I'll wait for the spoken response, which is a list, which I'll show you in a moment. And then it will then write to the log. It's a bit hard to read that in there, so I'm going to copy it out and paste it in Notepad++. We can see it a bit easier. So it will say in the log, you said, and then we've got, this is the variable here that we got from the wait for spoken command. This is from the get user input variable. So it's a text variable. And then we've got an integer number there, which is the item count. And the same again for the item there. So we've got the number and the actual item. So what it will do, it'll be like, say, 1, 0, 3, 1, 2, 2. So I've created like a pseudo array. And then on top of that, we'll have the item, let's say, and then so we've got, that would be the variables in effect. So that would be the first one for the number and the item, second, third. That's my little pseudo array. So then it sets the item count total to be the value of the item count there. Increments the item count to +1, pauses for half a second, and then loops back around. So either go until the loop count equals 6, or I say anything other than a number. Hopefully that makes sense. So then I've got the items in this pseudo array. I want to remember it. So I say remind me. So reset the item count back to 0 again. Let me check to see if the number variable contains anything. If it doesn't, it will tell me that I ask it to remember anything and then exit out of the command. And then it checks the item count is less than 6. If it is, it will start the loop. It then checks to see whether the number or the item contains invalid. If it does, for whatever reason, it breaks out of the command straight away. Then it basically checks to see if it's equal. If it is, it will do that section. Else, it will do that section. It will do this. So that's the reason I've got it like this here. This else at the bottom, it says and at the very end. Basically, just does that loop up to 6 times. When it's finished, it will say finished. So if I now do remember this.
What would you like me to remember?
1, iron, 2 osmium, 4 iridium. Finished. You can see there, it asked me to speak and it told me what I said. If I get it wrong, it will show me. Remind me.
You said 1 iron, 2 osmium, and 4 iridium.
And that is my little remember list. And that's how cool loops are. There you go. I hope that helped. Have a play and enjoy. If you have any questions, comments, ideas about anything, put them in the comments section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you've enjoyed the video or found it useful, click the like button, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe too and share the video out. Take care and I'll see you soon. Toodles!